All right, Rich, we are back after taking a solid 3 days off. We look forward to the national championship, plus the chaos that is the transfer portal. Also, in the on the other note, on the back end, after Rich jumps off, I am going to open the phone lines. So there is that. But Rich, how the hell are you?
Doing good, man. Camp Tuesday night. We're almost halfway through the work week. I'm looking forward to the Natty next Monday night with the Hoosiers and the U. It's our last
Yeah,
game for the season, Duke.
yeah, I still find it very bothersome um that we are going to play the national championship on Monday. I just don't
Yeah,
get it.
people got to work the next day. Like, come on.
You have that. Also, a little NFL note, not Marcus Freeman. Mike Tomlin resigns as Steelers head football coach. I think they're going to hire Brian Flores.
Which would be the smart move.
Right. And then so those are my little personal notes. I think that's a smart move, even though all the stuff that happened with Tua, but whatever. We'll see. We'll get it figured out.
I can't believe it's been 19 years because I remember when he replaced Coward. And that was 20 years ago. That was my second year at Kent. And that's when the Steelers won the Super Bowl up in Detroit.
Oh yeah, I was in the 6th grade.
Jesus.
So there is that. Also, a lot of college hoops on tonight. SEC, Big 12, Big 10. Indiana got smoked in basketball by Michigan State. I don't think anybody was shocked by that, but we'll get into the college football side of it. Adam Schefter puts a report out today that Marcus Freeman is staying again. I don't know why. I know we're leading with this, but I don't see the need to keep putting out that Freeman is staying as head coach at Notre Dame. Like, is there something that I'm missing here that I'm just not getting?
Is there something working behind the curtain that we still don't know about yet? Are there job offers coming out that we don't know yet?
That is the only thing I can just fathom. Unless I would say his agent's probably getting called off the hook, and it's probably going to be a shakedown for more money. They released the surveillance video over the incident that, from what I watched the video and I didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything either. I couldn't what's going on here?
So I don't know the whole extent of it, but I knew that when the initial report came out, I knew there was going to be there's cameras in every high school gym for that exact reason. Right. So I knew eventually we were going to see what became of it, and so nothing. I think this goes away, and Marcus Freeman goes on about his business, and I think the guy, I don't know. It's just a bizarre situation that something like that comes out this quick.
So, yeah, it was interesting because I saw it on Twitter. I'm like, and I was trying to make of the video like, what's going on here? I don't see anything. I'm sure I know something happened, but there was nothing I could really make out, you know.
And unless something happened when they both walked out of the doors, that's the only thing I can think of. So there's the Marcus Freeman. I haven't really dug into it or even asked anybody about it, but I guess we'll see if there's another video or another angle or something, if there's another shoe to drop. But I don't know, judging on today's climate in the world. I don't know college football wise, even if something did happen, I don't know, maybe a game suspension or something like that, maybe, but who knows. But
Yeah.
speaking of oddities, I thought this was bizarre. They posted the Dylan Raiola football journey, CFP Alerts did. So he was at a high school in Texas, high school in Arizona, commits to Ohio State, decommits from Ohio State, goes to a different high school in Arizona, and then commits to Georgia, goes to high school in Georgia, decommits from Georgia, signs with Nebraska, stays 2 years at Nebraska, hits the portal, and is at Oregon now. Is Dante Moore going to go to the NFL? I would say yes, because he'll probably be the second pick.
Yeah. That's the writing's on the wall with that. Lanning wants to secure his quarterback in the portal. I think whoever has the second pick they're going to try and get him. I gotta look at the.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you pull up the portal stuff, you'll be able to see it. So, excuse me. Speaking of NFL draft, the Ohio State tight end Max Clare declares for the NFL draft. The voice of college football threw that out there. Max Clare looking to probably be a day 2 pick, so he doesn't hit the portal. He elects for the NFL draft. I think he played 2 years at Purdue and 1 year at Ohio State, and he's out the door. I think there's some inklings there, just something that I've noticed. Quincy Porter and Mylan Graham, I think they were either 4 or 5-star kids. They have both hit the portal, and essentially they both end up at Notre Dame. Ohio State, Tegra Tishkabola hits the portal, goes to Kentucky. So he was rumored to SEC schools. Any inkling that there should be signs thrown up? Maybe Ohio State's having some NIL issues, or
It could. Something's going on. Something's going on that Ohio State fans are panicking a little bit. I know there's several people that I've talked to. They're, why are we losing all these guys? These guys committed to us. And it's just the nature of the game now. It's the nature of college football with the portal, starting back in 2019, and guys are they're looking for their big payday.
Is it payday or pay cuts? Because with the revenue sharing, there's something wacky going on there, and I think there's stuff that people aren't talking about that are in the know. And I would not be shocked if Ohio State in some of these schools are like, hey, we're over the rev share number, and we've got to get down under the number, and some guy's gonna have to get shown the door.
It's like the salary cap, Duke.
So
it's like the NFL salary cap. You got to cut guys to get under the cap. That's what it's sounding like to me, Duke.
So yeah, and I think it's very fascinating, to say the least. Ohio State, for the longest time was the industry leader in high school recruiting. They got knocked off last year, obviously, by Lincoln Riley, and USC and Notre Dame, I think, finished second. So they had some stiff competition in the high school recruiting. But at the end of the day, whenever you lost Hartline, you had to know at some point
he was going to take at least a couple wideouts with him. I mean, I knew that was going to happen.
Well, not even so much pillage the roster. There was some guys there on that roster he recruited, and I think that some real conversations got had. You got to look at everything that's going on. Appreciate Doreen for resharing the stream. So I don't know, man. when you look at Ohio State's schedule, you've got, obviously Julian Sain coming back. They lose Jelani Thurman. They pick up another Ohio tight end from the University of Ohio. So I think it's kind of all over the board, but next year, Ohio State's schedule reads as follows.
Brutal.
Opens with Ball State, and then they got to go on the road to Texas. I'm sure that's going to be a 7:30 kick, so all the Buckeye fans will be thrilled about that. And then Kent State comes to town, and then you got to go on the road to Indiana, and that's not going to be a walk in the park. And then
not anymore.
After that, on the road at Iowa, on the road at Nebraska, you got 3 road games early October, late September. And then you have Illinois, Maryland, and
Oregon,
USC, and you got to go to the Coliseum. And then Northwestern comes to town, and then you have Michigan to end the year. Don't know what that Michigan team's going to look like, but
yeah,
I mean, with the portal nowadays, it's so uncertain. So I guess I'm not throwing up the major red flags, but I think there's something to pay attention to if you're a Buckeye fan. And it just something screams out of place there. But now, speaking of the portal, we slide on over to Aaron Nolan. He's on the move again. Aaron Nolan, University of Memphis now. Goes to South Carolina after leaving Ohio State, and hasn't really seen the field too awful much. But I just feel like there's something to pay attention to with that. A just bizarre happenings. So
yeah. It's made the game of college football leveled out.
Yeah, and then you have the Alabama thing. So Ty Simpson declares for the NFL draft, which on his part was smart not to, because having that Alabama card is really, really smart to have up your sleeve, because Ty Simpson, I guess, went through 4 OCs, first-year starter, leads the team to the quarterfinals. He was a team captain. And then on top of that, the last 2 years, he turned down, I guess, $6+ million in the portal every year. So that's smart on Ty Simpson's part, in my opinion. But we'll see where he gets drafted. He'll probably be a day 2 guy if I had to.
I'm thinking 4th rounder.
Yeah, 3rd or 4th round. I think somebody will take a flyer on him. Just to
take a shot. Yeah.
Just to see. And then since no Ty Simpson, Isaiah Horton hits the portal. One of Bama's top receivers hits the portal and goes to Texas A&M. He's crystal ball.
Oh, crystal ball there. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess there's that. Also, other portal news, another big name, Jordan Seaton. Remember when Justin Fry lost him as when he was the offensive line coach at Ohio State, and everybody wanted to shut the program down. So Jordan Seaton has entered the portal. Matt McChesney talked about this like a year and a half ago in the offseason, because Seaton, after they had that really good year, Seaton was working out a lot in some facility in Miami, and he's like, you guys need to pay attention to this. You need to pay attention to this. And everybody, comes out with the big old, oh, you're a hater, you're a blah, 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 everything under the sun. And then it comes out, Jordan Seaton's in the portal. Wouldn't be shocked if he ends up at Miami, because Miami's going to have a high draft pick. They're going to have a high draft pick on the offensive line. And I think that Mario Cristobal, I think they have the number 1 tackle signed this year as well, coming in this spring. So it's Miami's building a hell of an offensive line if they can end up landing Seaton. I think Matt said today him and Bailey were talking, and I think the bidding for Seaton opens up at $2.5 million.
That's quite a chunk of change to pay for an offensive lineman. I mean, but you got to keep the QB upright.
Yeah, that's the
that's the name of the game.
Oh yeah, that is the big name of the game. So, also other portal news. Sam Leavitt
to
LSU.
Oh,
so I don't know. The portal isn't closed yet. The portal is open for 3 more days, and I don't think anything is final. I think I would not be shocked. I guess Tennessee's not going to give up on trying to sign him. I don't know what Heupel's going to do on the back end, and I wanted to talk about Tennessee for a minute. When Tennessee dug their heels in with the Nico stuff, this is just simply my opinion. When Tennessee dug their heels in and said, "Piss on you, we're not going to retain you, or we're not going to give you a raise after we just paid you like $2 million a year." So Nico decides that the grass is greener on the other side. Well, I don't know if Heupel had a plan B when that happened. Is this going to add immense pressure on Heupel?
Oh yeah, he's got to land a QB. If you don't have a QB that can move the football and throw it down the field, good luck.
Because they lucked out last year in the spring portal. They ended up with Joey Aguilar, and I don't. Here's my thing: for everything that got dealt Heupel's way, I think Tennessee ended up 8-4, or 8-5, or something like that. Whatever they did in the bowl, but I kind of look at that and I think to myself, I'm like, are we going to have an upgraded or a elevated hot seat to where Heupel's going to turn the heat up on himself because he doesn't have a quarterback yet? Or he may have one on the roster, but maybe none of the kids are ready.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I would. My gut's telling me he may try to get Aaron Noland.
Aaron Noland's committed to.
Oh, he's Memphis.
He's committed to Memphis.
What other quarterbacks are even available, Duke?
I know, because Lagway.
I mean,
Lagway's going to Baylor. Deuce Knight's already at Ole Miss. So it's going to be slim pickings for Heupel if he's going to want somebody to come in and start right away, in my opinion.
And I mean, there's really nobody left at the list that I'm looking at. Everybody's been picked over. Maybe accounted for.
Maybe you go the FCS route and find a kid you really like, and maybe you can pull a Ole Miss and get a Trinidad Chambliss.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see how that whole thing shakes out. I don't think I'm entirely crazy that the NCAA botched this whole thing. They should have just granted him that extra year, because now you turn it over to the courts in Mississippi, and I know what would happen in any other state, whether it was Ohio, Indiana, Michigan. You know how that's going to go. So the NCAA has just completely botched it, but that's a different conversation in another day for another day. But we will keep it moving and grooving. Got you.
You know what? He could go after CJ Montez out of good old Kent State.
So
he's available. He's available.
Now we'll see. We'll see what Heupel does.
Garrett Rangel.
Maybe he likes the guys that he's got in the room. We'll see, but I kind of think at times last year it kind of held him back, but we'll see how that whole thing shakes out. But speaking of audaciousness, I'm going to reserve judgment this offseason on a lot of teams because they're already talking about Sam at LSU. Oh, he's got to be the front runner to win the Heisman. Got to be the front runner to win the Heisman because I'm going somewhere with this. Every guy last year that was the alleged front runner on every top 10 list, none of them played well. Arch Manning was underwhelming.
Nope.
I don't know if he was 100% ready, but Arch Manning was underwhelming. DJ Lagway was underwhelming. Lenora Sellers didn't look great. And, for everything that's going on, I mean, they're already doing it with Missouri. They're doing it with LSU, saying these teams are going to be unstoppable. They're going to be elite. And I'm just like, hold the phone, guys.
Pump the brakes here. Pump the brakes.
So I guess we'll see where it shakes out. But I am pumping the brakes on everything that has to do with LSU, Missouri, or anybody that signs a giant NIL deal. And this is just something else I think that we need to have a conversation about. Is there going to be any extra pressure on Dan this season?
I think there is, because Duke, 2 years in a row, he's laid a goose egg. He's gotten just flat out beat and embarrassed on national TV.
2 years in a row, they've lost 2 playoff games by the combined.
It's like 63, like
60 some odd points. They've lost 2, and I think Signetti pulled the dogs off of them there at the end.
Sig should have put more on him, in my opinion.
So I think that I don't know if it's fair, but do we got to have the Dan conversation? And also that chimes into that. He's got Raiola now. He's got another big time quarterback.
He's got to put up. He's got to produce.
So, I think there's that question that goes on out there.
It was all hunky dory last year when they went undefeated and won the Big Ten, and they got the first round bye, and everybody's picking them, and all of a sudden they just lay a giant duck goose egg
in the Rose Bowl.
In the Rose Bowl. And the first round of the playoffs this year, they played James Madison. Yeah, but what if that, if the committee would have gotten it right, if they would put Notre Dame in, be a different story. But they still let 30 points. They still let JMU score 30 points on them. And having played Oregon this year, what was the score of that game? Like 20-30? Didn't they lose by 10? And it was on Oregon's home turf down at Outson.
Right. It was on their home deal. Go Irish. I hope Miami wins. Oh boy. I don't think everybody's prepared for a I don't think
Indiana Natty.
No, I don't think anybody's prepared for a Indiana Natty.
Do we have, speaking of Indiana, do we have any word on Coach Corso making an appearance? Have you seen anything?
Haven't. I would say if they did, it'll be a last minute deal to where absolutely not for Indiana. Well, I think that at some juncture, I think you'll probably see it announced late, or they won't tell anybody. But speaking of Indiana, let me get this note in, and then we'll get Richie out of here, and then the phone lines will be open for you guys. Surratt is approaching. He needs 2 touchdowns to surpass James Hardy's record. The late, great James Hardy played in the NFL, was a 2-way guy at Indiana. Blue Bloods unite, no upstarts ever. That's pretty fascinating. Have a good evening. Yep, appreciate you, man. But we'll see. We'll see where this shakes out. But there's that. Also, the Michigan news. Kyle Whittingham said that, and I quote, on Bryce Underwood, Kyle Whittingham said there was no dedicated QB coach to working with him on a daily basis, which has to happen. So I think Whittingham will get it figured out. That's very bizarre, but we'll save the Auburn thing for tomorrow. But get your quick thoughts here, Rich. I guess Heather Dinich. I know I can probably hearing people boo me through the screen whenever I say that. So I guess they're wanting to go to a 16-team format, which I think is bizarre because if you look at the last 3 years, the two teams that are in, Miami was pretty much the last team to get in from the Power Four, right? So is there anybody ranked below Miami in the final poll that you could see even coming close to beating Oregon? Out of the teams that were complaining about getting left out for a 16-team
format. Maybe BYU.
I get it. I get it. Anybody can be beat on any day, but at the end of the day, the final rankings, I think Notre Dame would have gave Oregon a run for their money. I don't think Texas could beat Oregon. I don't think Vandy would have got there. Don't think Utah would have got there. And USC. I mean, what would have happened? This is just hypothetical. What happens to we'll just throw it in there. If Duke had to play Indiana on a neutral site game, that it would have looked worse than what Oregon did, right? So I don't know why we really need to see that.
Sig probably put 84 points on him. No lie.
So that's just kind of what I'm looking at.
This you're saturating it. It's getting too many hands are getting involved now. So many people are throwing ideas to see. Leave it the way it is, people.
So okay, I guess Heather Dinich said that the Big Ten had agreed to go to 16, but eventually they want to move it to 24, and I think 24 is
that's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
It's just ridiculous, and I don't think it's going to help anything, but there is that. That was just my final thing I had for you, Rich. Any closing thoughts before I open the phone lines?
No, we'll know tonight. In 6 days, who's going to be the Natty? Hoosiers or the Canes?
So we'll see. For everybody who lives in the state of Florida, I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of Hoosier love. Indiana fans are showing up. I guarantee you there's a ton of Hoosier fans there. So
what do we know what the ticket allocation is?
I think it's
for each school.
I haven't heard any numbers, but we'll see. We'll see what it is. This current Indiana team.
Who has more pressure, Miami or Indiana?
Oh, I think Miami does.
Yeah, think about it, because they're playing in their home stadium in their backyard.
Yes. So
I would agree. Yeah.
There's that. It is 20,000 each school, my guys.
20,000. Okay.
So I was looking at tickets on StubHub, and some of the prices I was seeing were astronomical. So there's that. Anything else, Rich, before we kick me
out? Nah, I got nothing else, man. Everything's status quo. I'll catch everybody Thursday.
All right, sounds good. That's Richie, everybody. Appreciate Richie for joining. We'll talk to you, buddy.
Have a good night, everybody. Thanks, Duke. Catch you later.
Yep. All right. So with that being said, the phone number is up. It's on the ticker below. The number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number. We got started a little late tonight, but nothing too crazy. If you guys want to call in, you can. I'll leave this open. Leave it open for a bit. Phone line is open. Number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call. So we got a little Got a little bit of that. Just the portal's been outrageous this last couple of days. Jordan Seaton in the portal. Appreciate Doreen for sharing the podcast on X, but the phone line is open. We'll check out some other headlines on what ESPN.com's got. I think it's interesting. UCLA had a big donation today. A late alumni left him a gift of $17.3 million. So that's a hell of a parting gift there, to be honest. So there's that. UCLA might have some funds in the portal to go acquire talent. So there is that. Also, number to call, 260-255-4069. And I don't think I'm off base on this LSU thing, to be completely honest with everybody. I think we need to see what they are going to be, and when everything is final, which that means after the portal is officially closed, I'm sure you'll probably have some portal hoppers off of Indiana, some guys that are going to get cycled out. Probably the same thing with Miami, for Miami to make room for the new guys that they're bringing in, Indiana to make room for the new guys that they're bringing in. I want to say it's 5 days after your last game that you have to get into the portal. But we'll just have to see how this whole thing shakes out. Also, Nebraska basketball. Who had that on the bingo card? Nebraska basketball, undefeated, ranked number 8 in the nation right now. They are currently up on Oregon. That's heading to halftime. Got a ton of hoops on as well, but we can talk about anything you want. I think I'm going to be very cautious this year on the Texas side. I got overzealous on a couple of teams last year. I think I'm going to be more reserved this year, but there is that. Also, in other news, if you're new here, do us the biggest favor and hit that like and subscribe button. That helps us grow the platform as well. So if you like this content, if you like college football, hit the like and subscribe. Also, phone line is wide open. So if you call, you are directly getting on the air. My boy Scott here says, top donor-wise, SEC schools aren't even in the top 5. The Big Ten holds 3. That is true. The Big Ten does have big donors, but at the end of the day, it's really hard to compete with Texas and Texas A&M because collectively, I get it. Larry, what's that guy's name? Larry Adelson, I think, and Jolin are the brains behind the Michigan deal, and Portnoy. But Texas has got that oil money. Cody Campbell's a billionaire. Texas Tech, I don't think is going away. I think that, with this portal era, I think you're about to see a big shift. Also, I think Vandy's could become a major player. I know everybody's going to scoff and laugh, but let's not forget Vanderbilt won 10 games this past year and didn't make the college football playoff. So there is some of that to be said as well. I think that, where it's going, you have to look at this for what it is. It is who has the most funds is going to dominate the recruiting. And I think also people need to look at what I think they're looking at what Indiana has done with building a roster of older players. I know Signetti, they're recruiting the high school level and they're developing their guys, but I think that you're going to see teams lean more towards acquiring talent through the portal. As you can see, it's pretty much a mass exodus at Ohio State. Don't exactly know what's going on there, but we'll see. We'll see what Ohio State has and some of the things that have transpired, but I I'm not 150% completely sold on what they're doing over there in Columbus. I think it's a red flag that Mylan Graham, Quincy Porter, the guys that were the next up are hitting the road. It's going to be Jeremiah Smith. I'd have to look at their depth chart to see who and what they're going to have coming back. I mean, we're going to see what it looks like after spring, but there is no spring portal, so pretty much after the 16th, where everybody ends up is where you're going to be. I wonder how many days past the 16th, how many kids are in the portal will be a big sign. And you also, I had heard there's over like 10,000 kids in the portal. So we'll see where this whole thing shakes out, but I just can't I can't wrap my head around it, because it's like every 5 minutes there's kids going here, committing there, going here, crystal balled here. It's just pretty much, I don't know. Joe Long, Indy kicked Indiana's ass before they have done it this year, except for the conference conspiracy. I don't think expanding the playoff is going to give people what they want, because did you see the first round games? I'm just saying, because if Tulane and JMU were any indication, that should be a cautionary tale, because those games bombed on TV. Like I did a watch party for JMU Oregon. I shut it off at halftime because the game was over. I mean, I know I got to be careful on the way I word this, but I don't think putting in because when you have 16, the 17th team is going to bitch. And that's a fact. I don't think that you're going to please everybody, and I think you can take it to 24 and the 25th team will complain. I'm just telling people now what it's going to be. And I think going from 4 to 12 was very, even last year, Duke, all the teams with byes lost their first round game. Yeah. I would say I just don't think expanding the college football playoff is going to be what people want it to be, or what it's going to materialize. They're like looking at expanding the NCAA tournament, which I get while they're doing that. That's all about the money. I guess you run the fine line, and this is just solely my opinion. You can't have everything based upon, like the SEC adding the 9th conference game. Why did they do it? ESPN's giving every school $7 more million. So you're getting $7 million for every other year a new home game, or another home game with an SEC opponent, which that's good for their conference. It's like when the Big Ten went to 9 conference games. The schools are going to bring people unless it's the West Coast schools. I just don't think that it's going to pan out like people want it to. My boy Scott says this year every team did except IU. What's your argument here? Indy lost to Miami, and Miami now they're in the Natty. Joe comes back with, ever since the playoffs began, I always said Indy have a chance. They have to be undefeated or only one loss. That's true, and I think we could all be in agreement here and not fight like cats and dogs about this. I think we could all be in agreement that the byes were dumb to begin with, because when you looked at it last year, Arizona State got a bye within the rules. They're the ones that set the format, and all those commissioners and everybody in the athletic directors got in there and they voted for it. Oh, Scott with the not. I don't think the conference thing has anything to do with it. Because if you go back and listen to what Mario Cristobal said carefully, it was about the head-to-head. Did I agree with Tulane and JMU getting in the playoffs? No, because I said also I'm trying to think of where I want to go with this. I'm just saying when it comes to these conferences, also phone lines open if you want to talk. Number to call 260-255-4069. Throwing that out there for the new people we have. Got a lot more people in here tonight than we normally do, which is great. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We got Scott, Joe, a lot of the regulars. But here's my argument. The college football TV deal sucks. ESPN, Disney, ABC, Disney, what they're doing, phenomenal. They are kicking ass every Saturday. They're dominating two out of the top 3 time slots. There's no argument. You can look at the TV numbers, and I can tell you what it is. They're dominating, unless the Big Ten has a big game. But I'm just telling you, in certain parts of the year when it's Texas, Oklahoma, isn't going to draw a number like Nebraska, Rutgers, or Nebraska, Minnesota. It's just not on CBS. My advice would be Big Ten fix your TV deal and actually have meaningful night games to at least compete. Now, what I think is going to happen, I think Fox is just going to go all in on the NFL and the Big 12. That's what I think. I would not be shocked if NBC acquires a little more Big Ten inventory, and I think CBS is going to fight like hell to acquire more TV money or put more TV money into the deal so they can get better games. Oregon, Penn State last year, electric. Hell of a game. But at the end of the day, whenever Fox gets first pick, they always pick Ohio State or they pick Michigan. They pick the big games. Now, the Ohio State-Michigan game, that's fine. Leave it at noon. If they're 1-2, maybe move it to 3:30, but I know some blue hairs will hate that. Appreciate you subscribing, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the new people we got here. So, but that's just my thing on where this whole thing shakes out. But at the end of the Andre, what's the number so I can call the show? It's on the ticker below. Number to call 260-255-4069 is the number. I look at the way the conference thing shook out. Do I think it's a big deal that the Big Ten plays 9 games and the SEC plays 8? I mean, what are we doing here? We're splitting hairs. At the end of the day, Northwestern had a better year than they normally do, but there's teams in the Big Ten that collect a big check that aren't competitive. I don't think anybody could argue that. Same thing in every conference. You go up and down the conferences, and you can look. There's people that are unserious about football. It's double more in the ACC. But yes, for the new people, number to call 260-255-4069. It's on the ticker below as well. But if you're new here, do us the biggest favor and hit the like and subscribe button, as a few people have tonight. Appreciate all the support there. But that's kind of where we're at. Getting really pissed at the committee is not going to fix the issue, if that makes any sense. Because the committee was always going to hide. They were always going to hide behind the format. Joe here, Indy had so many data points better than Miami, Oklahoma, BYU, Alabama, but chicken shits and ESPN's conspired. The only thing that I think Oklahoma had, Miami had 2 losses to unranked teams. Yes, Miami lost to Louisville and they lost to SMU. Did Notre Dame? No, they did not. I think whenever oh, sorry about that, everybody. I was just looking at some stuff. Okay. What do we got here? Andre, is there a way to blend the current committee we have with the old BCS system? I don't think that's a terrible idea. I really don't. And here's why I say this, because it takes bias out of it. It does take bias out of it. Now, for some of the schools, it comes down, I think the BCS at certain times relied on the AP poll too much to determine things, and the coaches poll and all that stuff. At the end of the day, if they would put the way the committee ranked them and use that as a data point, I think it would solve some of this. But I also think they screwed this up at a certain point. They screwed this up when, and I'm just saying when they went from 4 to 8. Okay, what do we got here? Anthony, how did the ACC conspire against Notre Dame? Member of the conference, you're not a full member. You can't get angry for them backing teams like Miami. Hypocrisy, Andre. I'm not. Here's where this is where I get off the boat with the ACC stuff. Do I think the ACC conspired to keep Notre Dame out? I think if you gave them truth serum, you might get an answer. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, putting James Madison in Tulane in was a mistake as far as TV-wise, as far as competitive-wise. It would have it just didn't make any sense. I would have much rather seen BYU and Notre Dame in the playoff. You can leave Miami in. Miami has proven it. They have gone they've ran a gauntlet. They beat Ohio State. They beat Texas A&M, which I was really high on. Regardless of however they did it, they put more points on the board. You can argue the semantics of it. I don't care about that. But what I'm saying is Miami has beaten 3 quality opponents. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Ohio State, and they beat Texas A&M. So they've beaten 2 SEC schools, and they beat 2 SEC schools in one of the best Big Ten teams. Here we go. Joe, they beat 2 lost Navy by a ton. They beat Arkansas by a ton. The other SEC schools barely beat them. Indy beat USC, which that's a good win for Notre Dame because USC ended up 9-3. Indy won the last 10 games. They had better statistics than Bama and Miami and Oklahoma and BYU. Statistically, Notre Dame stacks up like Joe is saying. But like I've always said, the committee used their format to justify putting 2 group of 5 teams in because they wanted to use high-ranked conference champions. Here's just a data point if you guys want to look at this on what I'm talking about. When Arizona State came out of nowhere, why is you fuck you? Hey, everybody, let's just calm down. What do we got here? Andre, how do you justify an argument that have good losses or a justification for Miami being a playoff team? No, what I'm saying is when it comes to Miami at the last minute gets flipped over Notre Dame. And I just solely think it was because of head-to-head. Now, here's where the big issue comes in. And I'll get to my Arizona State point in a second because this all factors in. It's all going to come full circle. Now, let's just think about this. And Andre, to be honest, I believe the damn tiebreakers for the ACC screwed Miami and Notre Dame. Yes, 100%. That's what I'm getting. This is what I'm getting at. There's no way you can tell me because under the old Joe, what's Joe saying? I'm just saying Indy won the last 10, but they lost the first game of the year with a brand new starter quarterback in Miami. That's another fair point. Andre, for me, I believe from the beginning, Alabama should have never been in. I don't give a damn that they were a conference championship game. They got blown out by Georgia. Joe Long says, GW field goal. Yes. So on two sides of this argument, this is because I'm going to try to tie all this together. So the ACC has an issue with the tiebreaker situation. You had a 7-5 team win the ACC. Let's not forget about that. You had a 7-5 team. Miami technically should have played for the ACC championship, but whatever. We won't even dive into that. So if Miami wins their conference, it's not as big a deal, in my opinion, because I think they would have probably blown Duke out, to be honest. So where this gets complicated, at the end of the day, the reason why I bring Arizona State into this is the simple fact of Arizona State last year when they started stringing 4 or 5 victories together, everybody realized Arizona State kept clicking up in the polls. They had to rank them accordingly to get them in the playoff because they could not risk leaving a P4 conference title game winner out because they were dangerously close to that. If Tulane does not lose the AAC championship game at Army last year, it has completely turns everything on its head because the Arizona State people would have went ballistic because Arizona State would have got left out and Tulane would have got in. Miami had common opponents also with Notre Dame that they blew out by a lot more points than Notre Dame went against those teams. See, that's where the BCS being introduced into the college football playoff committee gets wacky because the BCS also took into account things like how many points did you win by. That is just unbelievable on some of that. But I think that at the end of the day, you can't lose sight of what you have going just for the simple fact of they had to leave Alabama in because Sankey would have blew the whole thing up. I know people are going to argue with me about that, but the SEC was not going to let a team, regardless if they would have got beat 56-0, they were still putting Alabama in. I know some people are not going to like that. That's just how that is going to go, to be honest. They were going to put Alabama in. Indy Syracuse 66-3. Yeah. I just feel like they can't devalue the conference championship games because those are games the networks pay big money for because they want them because it's a premium Saturday slot or a premium Friday night slot. That's why the ACC decided this year they put more of their inventory on Friday night. You see what I'm saying? If anybody is drawing the lines there. Andre, that's bullshit to me. You have to grow a spine the SEC just because Alabama is part of the conference. They don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Miami lost to 2 unranked teams based on how many how they ended the season. They barely beat Auburn by 5. Oh, I'm not disagreeing with anything that you guys are saying. You guys are making fantastic points. What I'm saying is Sankey would have hit the roof and he would have killed the college football playoff before it started. And I'm not joking, because he would have got, at the end of the day, the thing that I don't think people realize is that the folks on the conference committees or the commissioners, they work for the people for the conference, and they get paid really well to represent their member institutions. So if Sankey pisses off his member institutions, he's not going to have a job. And I think canceling conference championship games it's a non-starter. Oh wow. Oops, all blitz, man. We're getting after the old lane thing. Dave's here. I want to make those 2 games 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5 to make the best teams in the conference play each other before the playoffs. Dave's here. That's not a bad idea. That ain't a bad idea. But after those 2 ranked losses, look at Miami's run. We blew out teams the rest of the way. Went into College Station, beat the Aggies, and beat the defending national champs. I mean, I'm not going to lie. What Miami's done this playoff run has been impressive. There's no denying that. I think at the end of the day, Andre, would you like, let's move to 24 teams and have regionals? Like, I don't like 24 teams. Here's my thing. When they decided to change the format, and I know I sound like a broken record, if they would have went to 8 instead of 12, a lot of this would have been solved, because what you could have said, I'm not an automatic qualifier guy. I don't like the fact that we're just going to gift wrap bids to people just because teams win the conferences. Because in my opinion, people would have went ballistic. I mean, they did go ballistic because they put Tulane and they put JMU in. But per the format, they hid behind the formatting to do that. But I think if you would have went to 8, that your Florida State gets left out after going undefeated in the ACC, you don't have those issues like you do now. Because you could say, okay, you're an undefeated team, we'll put you in. You would have to be the top 8. Based upon that format, let me pull up the final rankings. I think you would have had I mean, margin of victory is, I think relative. But what you would have done, your top 8 seeds for this year would have been Indiana, Ohio State, UGA, Texas Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, A&M, and Oklahoma. Now, the Alabama side of things would have went crazy. The Miami folks would have went crazy. Notre Dame would have been pissed. But BYU, Texas, and Vandy, I didn't hear a lot of outrage out of them, but I don't follow BYU that close. But it would be 2 years in a row that if you cut it to 8, an eventual maybe national champion gets left out of the field because Miami's made it all the way there. So I just feel like an 8-team playoff system makes it more cut and dry as far as maybe one loss. Probably if you cut it at 8, there would have only been 1 2-loss team in the field, and that would have been Oklahoma. And Oklahoma lost to Ole Miss and they lost to Texas. So that's kind of my feeling on it. But we'll see what they come up with. Game 3 or 4 after 2 losses to ranked teams by a total of 4 points, and then kick the Mountain West champions ass. That is a good point. I mean, Boise State looked bad. I don't know, Andre. It's so frustrating when I hear Notre Dame friends bring up Syracuse. That's a non-common opponent for Miami. I think that. Oh, what's their excuse for the BC game? My thing is on Boston College on the road at night is a tough place to play, to be honest. It is. Because BC doesn't always have a bunch of people show up to the game, and it's a weird atmosphere. It's a weird atmosphere up there at BC. But I think with anything, I think we're going to see new teams in the playoffs next year. I just look at that and I think to myself, we're going to see more newer. We're going to see assholes here tonight. I knew whenever I dove into the college football committee debate, it was going to spark some reaction, but I think it's, a productive conversation that needs to be had in all honesty, because I think Notre Dame getting left out was a bad idea, but I also think putting Alabama in was dumb, because I think Notre Dame would have put a bigger fight up against Indiana than that. What was it, 38-3 performance? And I'm sure. I'm just going to go out on a limb here. I'm normally early on these types of things. I want to see what the NFL coaching cycle brings. We're getting ready to wrap it up here. So, Andre, for me, the committee needs to be non-biased actors. They can't be former commissioners of these damn conference who never played the sport. They need to be former players and coaches, which I agree. I think we would have ended up with a better field if we would have had, let's just say this. You put Mark D'Antoni on there. You put Mac Brown on there. You put, I don't know, Urban Meyer on there. It just for me, when I look at it, if you would put former coaches on there instead of administrators, I think you would end up with a better mix of people. Yeah, Nick Saban. I think Saban should be on that committee. And I think they need to have an overwhelming rehaul of college football. They need to have a commissioner, a governing body. Oh, geez, Scott. But here's my thing. I'm not so big on the conference deal because I think the ACC is a thread from completely falling apart, because I think North Carolina wants out. I think Virginia wants out. I think Miami low-key will probably want out. I think Florida State wants out. So it's also the Feinbaum hating Indiana. That's a really bizarre deal, but I'll say this much. Kirk Cignetti's agent isn't, I don't think he's represented by CAA. So I think if you read between the lines on that one, you'll be able to figure it out. But also, let's be real here. Paul Feinbaum, since he's been invoked here tonight, Paul Feinbaum and Nick Saban did a complete disservice to college football on game day this year. When they were going to bat for Lane Kiffin to coach the playoff team, that's an absolute joke to me. I think that it was dumb. They should have just avoided it. And then after Kiffin gets completely crucified by the Ole Miss fan base, and I think people are are skeptical of it. I agree with Feinbaum, Saving, and Howard. These group of five shouldn't be in the playoffs. They should have their own playoff system separate from the Power Five. Ding, ding, ding. That's a winner. I would watch that. I would watch that just like the FCS playoffs. I think it would have been electric TV. And also, because you could have had the best 12 group of five teams squaring off, and you could have mixed and matched the games. You could have put them in prime spots. It gives ESPN competitive games, unlike bowl games, outside the Pop-Tart Bowl, which did a bigger number than 2 playoff games. So we're not going to talk about that, but don't even get me started on what that gimmick is. I mean, they promote the hell out of it, and they got people to watch it. So shout out to the Pop-Tarts Bowl. They did everything that they needed to do. And they also schmoozed the media, gave them outstanding gifts, so people would say glowing things about them. So that's what these bowl games do, because there's so much corporate money tied up into them. Now, do I think that they could scrap the Gasparilla Bowl? Yeah, I think you could. And I just let the teams practice. Let the teams practice. Oh boy. That's just my thing, because I think we're going to see spring football slowly disappear. I think you're going to see more of that. I think you're going to see the schedule bumped up. I think they're going to move the schedule up by 3 weeks. That's just my opinion. I know some people will probably disagree with me, but I don't know when. But if they extend the playoffs to 16, they're going to have to move the schedule up. And then also, they got to do something with getting the calendar fixed, because you can't have Oregon losing both of its coordinators. They both got head jobs. John Summerall coaching 2 teams. You had the whole Lane Kiffin PR nightmare. You just can't do it. You have to move the calendar. You have to move it. And I think you can avoid Lane Kiffin situations. I think you can avoid, I'm not even going to say it's a John Summerall situation. I would say they probably were not banking on making the playoff. So that ends up happening. I think those things could have been completely avoided entirely, which I think that it would have been positive for the sport as a whole to have everything avoided, to where this is the off season, this is the regular season, and have it just like the NFL does. You can't contact coaches until after the season's over. Like, who was it? Kellen Moore, or the regular season. I just think that if you have some equalization here, you move the calendar around a little bit, and they try to make it mini NFL without acknowledging that they want it to be mini NFL, expanding the playoffs. The NFL expanded their playoffs. It's just kind of dumb what college football is doing. It's just basically, it's the old adage, just because you put a chicken suit on, it doesn't mean you're a chicken. It's bizarre. So there's that. I've been ranting and raving for like an hour. Appreciate everybody who has jumped in, contributed to the show tonight. Hit the like and subscribe button. Some new people got the cast of regulars here. And I don't think disagreements are a bad thing to have. Here's my thing. The ACC totally botched this by having the tiebreaker and having Duke win the conference. Because if Virginia wins that, it changes things. There's too many variables, and you put 2 group of 5 teams in. So I think for all the tongue lashing the committee gets, I think they deserved. So I think that's a fair assessment, but we'll see how this whole thing shakes out. National championship coming up in 6 days. We'll do a live watch party, post-game show. Win or lose, we'll be there covering it. I'm pulling for Indiana. We'll have to see. But there is that. And then what's going to be, I want to see what College Game Day and a lot of the pundits that said Indiana wasn't for real, I want to see what their talking points are after a possible Indiana victory. That's what I would like to see. So the last team in it gets to the Natty. So I think we're figuring something out. I was, but Wise is an Indiana fan, so I hope Miami wins. Oh, Joe from the top rope. So, all right, we will talk to you guys tomorrow. Appreciate everybody. If you enjoyed the content, do us the biggest favor, hit the like and subscribe button. We had some new people in there. So there's that. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.